We'll call to order the regular meeting of the Batavia City Council for Monday, November 18th, 2013. Would you all please rise for a brief invocation to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Tonight, as the City Council meets in regular session, we just ask for guidance and understanding and blessings as we undertake to discuss and take actions on the various affairs of business before the City of Batavia. Tonight, we are ever mindful of the destruction and chaos that was caused in our state yesterday by the tornadoes that ravaged not only central Illinois, but southern Illinois and portions of the southern part of the Chicago area. I'm ever mindful that one of those who was impacted by this was our former fire chief, William Darren. He is currently the fire chief in the neighboring community of East Peoria to Washington, Illinois. And his community, as well as Washington, were two of those that were struck by the tornadoes. And we just ask that a special blessing and understanding and support be showered upon him and his fire department and those from surrounding fire departments and other emergency agencies who are assisting in that devastation and destruction. We ask tonight there also to remember those from our community who are serving in defense of the liberties of the United States of America in the military, and we just ask that a special blessing be showered upon them. Tonight, as we are about to hear, Batavia is blessed as we have a number of outstanding organizations and agencies in our community who are here to help and promote the welfare of their fellow man, and we are most thankful for those and for the blessings that they show upon us. We ask for all these blessings and guidance and all the things that the City Council is about to undertake, and we just ask for an era of understanding and direction and coming together as we solve the issues before the community of Batavia and create a brighter future for our town. Amen. Alderman Sam, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, the city clerk to please call the roll.
Brown.
Here.
Clark. Atack.
Here.
Stark.
Here.
Chanzit.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Sparks.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Callahan.
Here.
Holman.
Here.
Sam.
Here.
Vasilian.
Here.
Saron.
Here.
McFadden.
Here. Let the record reflect that all 14 elected members of the City Council are present and accounted for this evening's meeting, so we have the necessary quorum to conduct business. Moving then to item number 4, which are items to be removed, added, or changed on tonight's agenda. Alderman Sparks, as Chairman of Governmental Services, do you have anything?
I don't. I'm not sure what you wanted to change.
I don't think we want to change anything. I do want to make the announcement. Item number 6 is our scheduled annual public hearing for the 2014 budget, and that's scheduled to begin at 7:35. As long as I don't convene it before that time, I'm told I'm within the law. But I am going to, because we have in the audience folks from the Batavia Toy Drive and the Main Street, and the Batavia Fire Department is here to present a check to muscular dystrophy, and we have most of the on-duty crew here. I don't want to have them sit through a public hearing. It may take some time for us to understand, so I'm going to move those 3 items ahead of the public hearing, which should only take a few minutes because we've got to hopefully get the fire department back out on the street. So I will be doing that just so everybody understands. No action on that then. We'll move then to item number 5, which is the consent agenda. Alderman Sparks.
Thank you, Your Honor. I propose we accept and place on file A, the building report for October 2013, B, the JCAL minutes for October 22nd, 2013, approval C, November 8th, 2013 payroll in the amount of $723,092.06, D, the November 15th, 2013 accounts payable check register, the amount of $3,236,434.98. E, the City Council minutes for October 21st, 2013. F, Ordinance 13-40, proposed revisions to Title 11 of the Municipal Code 4, Subdivision Regulations, and Title 3, Business and License Regulations to establish escrow. G, Resolution 13-137-R, authorizing execution of a deed for land in H. Michael Wild Park and accepting a grant of easement. H, Resolution 13-138-R, approve of the authorization to bind insurance for property liability and workers' compensation. I approval the 2014 meeting calendar. I move we accept and place on file the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Sparks, second by Alderman Stark, for the approval of the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Sparks.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Homan.
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Vasilian. Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Clark. Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Transit. Wolf.
Aye. Motion for the approval of the consent agenda is approved, 14 yes, no no's, no nays. Okay, as I announced, I'm going to jump up to item number 8, which is going to be the presentation tonight by Batavia Main Street. Mr. Matter?
Jeff Matter, Board Member, Batavia Main Street. So this is your Main Street Minute for November 18th. So we had 91 Main Street volunteers who donated 316 hours for planning, meetings, programs, and events in October. Wilson Street Antiques has opened up at 235 West Wilson Street, and Synergy Ed is a new business at 131 Flynn Street. Some Main Street successes, I saw a lot of you guys at Bat Fest, and it was great, very well attended, with thousands, literally thousands, coming out for downtown trick-or-treating, games, activities, rides, and of course, fun, right? If you missed the festivities, you can see pictures of the costumes, thriller performance by the Rotolo Middle School Strings program and the Batavia Academy of Dance. There were 3D pumpkins and more on the Main Street Facebook page, so check it out. Last week, we were also able to celebrate success with our businesses, property owners, and volunteers. There were 10 categories and 14 awards given to celebrate those who make our community so great. Looking ahead, we've teamed up with Batavia High School Design Class to create the next 3 banners for the downtown. Today was the last day for the public vote to vote for their favorite designs on Facebook, so if you missed it, we'll see you next time. The votes on Facebook, combined with scores from an ad hoc committee of judges, will determine the 3 winners. There were 14 participants and 30 band designs submitted for competition this year. Thank you to those who are participating in the Light Up the Town campaign. We are happy to announce that we have had an outstanding response from the community to help sponsor the trees and the lights, with our leading sponsors being the individual members of City Council and Landmark Contractors, Inc. Please join us this Saturday, November 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to help decorate the trees with the lights. We will have several groups contributing time, and we will meet at 122 West Wilson to start. That's 122 West Wilson to start. Refreshments will be served. Last, we would like to congratulate the city again on receiving the Lieutenant's Governor Award for Excellence in Revitalization for the River Street Streetscapes. Recently, the city and Main Street received congratulatory letters from the Governor's Office and Main Street, and we would like to present this specially made award to the city to display proudly here in City Hall. Mayor, I will bring this to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so as you all know, we say it every minute, we could not put on such great events without our volunteers. If you're interested in getting involved, contact Main Street at 630-761-3528. Stop in and say hi to Joy. She's a lovely person and would love to meet you. Tonight, the business of the month is Synergy Ed, located at 131 Flynn Street in Batavia. Synergy Ed connects serious, well-prepared military and veteran students with colleges and universities. Here to tell you more about the company is COO Jim Hendrickson. Jim?
Jeff's a really dynamic speaker, and unfortunately I'm not, so I'll just jump in right here. First, I'm Jim Hendrickson. I'm also Lieutenant Colonel Hendrickson on the weekends. I just had my reserve weekend and got back, so I'm a little exhausted, but I've been in the military for 27 years. Worked my way through school during that time using GI Bill and TA benefits, eventually getting my master's degree and getting to the higher rank levels. My wife just completed her master's degree as well. She's also a veteran. But through that time, I found that schools had a hard time working with military and veteran students. There's a disconnect between the two. So while today's veterans have a fantastic GI Bill benefit, they don't necessarily have schools that know how to work with them or how to help them transition from combat to classroom using the appropriate tools and techniques, which makes it very difficult for students to retain and graduate and move into successful careers as their GI Bill benefits are designed to help them do. So what I've done over the past 7 years was working with Colorado Technical University, created military and veteran programs within a university to help them first transition into school and get the support they need in order to retain and then graduate at much higher levels than are found nationally. But based off of the results I had there, someone talked me into starting my own business and doing this for any other schools that are interested in growing their military and veteran populations. And since then, I've started working with a number of different schools and got to the point where I needed to get some office space, which led me to Batavia. I live in North Aurora, and ultimately, Batavia has become something of a hub for me and my family and friends, and we typically shop in this area. We typically eat in this area, and recently we had a family friend's child died, and we had the funeral in this area. And based off of the synergistic sort of environment we've got here with all the things we do, we decided to open our business in this community because we enjoy the community feel, and because of some of this architecture that's here and some of the character that we find in this neighborhood. So it's great to be here. We have felt incredibly welcomed, and here we are tonight being able to talk to you about what we do, and we're excited to do our thing, even though it's nationwide and I travel a lot. I get to come back to a community where I really feel at home, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving then to item number 9, which is the Batavia Access Toy Drive presentation. Mr. Bailey?
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Glad to be here tonight. We're starting off Christmas. I'm sure some of the new council members haven't seen me here, but you will be seeing me a lot coming. Christmas in Batavia is 27 days from today. You're going, you can't even count. Well, Christmas in Batavia comes December 15th. That's when we give away the toys here in Batavia. Only children here in Batavia, the needy children, we take care of here in Batavia. And before I get into all about the toys, I want to say congratulations to Batavia football. Go Dogs. I want to be the first one to do that. And I'm going to come back and tell you a little bit a story about the Dogs at the end of our presentation here. Christmas starts today for us. It's actually started January 1st this year when we started collecting toys throughout the community for children. We've been storing the toys over at the Baptist Church. We've had that facility for, I think, a couple of years, and we've just been collecting. Tonight, we're going to look at our first blush of how many children we're going to have to take care of this year. My wife is down at the clothes closet looking at the first list of children that we're going to take care of here in Batavia. Last year was around 600 children plus that we took here in Batavia. That's not Geneva, that's not St. Charles, that's not North Aurora. It's 600 children here in Batavia. We did it, because the people here in Batavia took care of us. The community stepped up and made sure that those 600 children in Batavia had a Merry, Merry Christmas. The drop-off this year is like years past. It's going to be at Batavia Library. It'll be at both fire stations. And if you would like to give a check or a gift card, all of those donations come to the police department. Check is made out to Batavia Access Toy, and it's all done here at the police department. None of the other locations are able to take care of those, of any cash or any gift cards. I'm going to have Rudy come up and tell you a little bit about what the committee has done so far, and I'll be back with you. Rudy?
Good evening. Yeah, we started out this year, actually in October, we had our comedy evening. Dottie Fletcher hosted the comedy night down at the Batavia Moose. We had a very, very funny lady, Patty Vasquez. We had about 100 to 120 people show up. Everyone had a great time. We want to thank the Batavia Moose. They basically donated their facility for us, so we didn't have to pay anything for that. But everybody had a great time. We had a couple of folks from here that were down there. We also had quite a few toy donations already from Aldi, which has proven to be a great group of people from Aldi that gives us toys. And basically, that's what we've done so far. We're still collecting. We've actually started collecting now. We've got a lot of toys coming in, and we're hoping for a lot more. I just have one other thing to say. Most of you people know who I am, as far as I'm the voice of the Batavia Bulldogs. And so I have one thing to say. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Batavia, the home of the Battling Bulldogs. Go Dogs, Saturday, 1 o'clock, Rockford, and we'll be coming home with a victory and playing the state finals out in DeKalb this year. So, and I'll turn it back over to Roy, and he's got to finish up.
Just a quick story. I had, most of you know Coach Piron. And I think last year, Coach Piron, I was at one of the meetings, and he says, once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog. I came back with one more. Help me out, Alderman. Once a
Bulldog.
always a Bulldog. Once something else. What's my statement? Once a Batavian.
Always a Batavian.
That's where we work.
That's right.
So that's what I need today. I need all the Batavia folks to come out and really help us to make this toy drive the best. So again, I call Coach. I say, Coach, I know that you guys are in the playoffs. I said, I got some toys that I need washed. I got some toys I need to bring upstairs to put on the tables because they're empty. I says, after the playoffs, is there any way you can come and help me? He goes, Bailey, how about Friday night? I go, I know you guys are watching films, but Coach, what can you do for me? He says, I'll send you 6 or 7 guys over. You can probably have them for 30 or 40 minutes. It's okay. 7 o'clock comes. We open the doors. There's 15 kids. I'm going, wow, Rudy, we got 15 players. Come on upstairs. I go back downstairs. I said, Rudy, I thought you put those 15 guys to work. He goes, I did. There's 15 more. I go, that's 30. Mr. Bailey, there's a bus out in front. I go, how many more you got coming? Coach says, Bailey, there's 104 boys that's going to help you bring those toys up today and wash them and take care of puzzles. They got a playoff game the next day. 103 or 104 football players showed up to take care of our needy children here in Batavia to make sure that we had to start us on a successful journey this year. I got a few pictures just to show you. Picture 1 there is what we look like on Friday night at the church. You can see there's nothing on the tables. We need to fill up 3 rooms. Picture 2. Again, they're setting up the tables. My daughter, my wife, Rudy's wife is in the background there somewhere, but you can see there's nothing on the tables. Again, there's Rudy's wife. They're setting up tables, getting ready. Here they come. The boys are starting to bring product up. Here's the football team bringing up. Here they're lined up. If you can imagine 103 or 104 football players doing this. Chief, we were okay on the fire ordinance. I checked it out to make sure we were okay. As you can see here, they're all lining up, bringing up more toys. You can see how arm in arm, how many we had. There they come, 103 football players. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity tonight to kick off the Access Toys. We got a long way to go, but we got a good start with the football team helping us and all the people in the community helping us. Again, you will see Rudy and I back again to give you a report. So look for us. Get behind us, help us, get to your neighbors, get to your churches, get to whoever you need to get to let them know the needs that we have. I'm sure this number is 600. It was big last year. I think it's going to be bigger this year. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. You might know, as most of you know, Roy represents kind of a second generation in this operation because his mother, along with Ruth Johnson, were kind of the longtime stalwarts of this, and now Roy and Rudy have assumed the command, and they're doing their continued usual job. So Alderman Brown, do you want to make a comment?
I do. I would like to make a comment, Your Honor. And after I get done, I hope you tell the story about Mildred when her house caught on fire. I think that's a very touching story that needs to be shared. And it was probably about 12 or 14 years ago that I first met Mildred, and I can see where Roy gets his enthusiasm from and his caring and compassion, because that's what sucked me in with Mildred. She came down here one time and told the story, not the story, but she came down here and talked about how she needed help to take care of the area kids and people that needed some help. And in listening to her, all I could imagine, having raised quite a few kids myself, was if they didn't have a tree on Christmas Day or a toy to open on Christmas Day. So I got behind Mildred at that time, and I put the challenge out at that time to the community, or not the community, but the council and city staff to bring down presents on a particular night. And this year, since they're giving away their gifts on the 15th, I would ask that the council, anybody that can, and city staff and all of their employees, anybody that can, bring down presents, gift cards, what have you, on the first Monday of December, which is Monday the 2nd, and we'll have a couple tables set up here, and we'll fill the tables up with whatever we can, and hopefully Roy and Rudy will be here that night, and they can take some stuff home with them. And one last comment. As I was trying to help out over the years, a couple comments have been made to me about the cash donation or the gift cards. It was always kind of, well, hey, you know, cash, and we're not quite sure where that cash goes, and if we give cash, are we really sure it goes to where it needs to go to? And I can tell you, you can't find more of a trustworthy group of people than that group right there that spoke to us tonight. That cash will go where it needs to go. And one of the things that's great about the cash, if you don't like to go out and go shopping like some of us, that cash is really a great asset to them, because they take care of all the kids. What's the oldest you take care of? 16, and the youngest? Infants. So what happens is, quite often, we all like to go out and we like to buy toys that we see that are good for, like, 4, 5, 6-year-olds. But we forget about the 13-year-olds and the 12-year-olds, and it's hard to buy for them. So they take that cash and they go and they buy so that everybody in the family gets something that fits their age. They know who's coming, it's all been pre-screened, so they know who's coming. So they make sure there's something there for everybody. It might be a gift card for McDonald's, it might be a gift card for Walmart so they can go buy a video game, whatever it is. But they make sure that everybody that comes is well taken care of. So if you're shy about the cash, you don't need to be, because they make sure it goes where it needs to go. So I've said enough, Mayor. I do hope you give the Mildred story, because it sure touched my heart many years ago. And again, I'll ask that anybody that can, on Monday, the 2nd of December, let's fill some tables. Thank you.
Well, the Mildred story is that I believe it was Thanksgiving weekend, and I forget what year it was, on Sunday night of Thanksgiving weekend, the Batavia Fire Department pager went off for a general alarm up at 500 Douglas Road, and I immediately recognized the address when I heard it as Mrs. Bailey's, and so I normally go with the fire department on a lot of different activities, so I didn't waste any time getting up to the Bailey residence. And I got up there, and the house had a pretty serious fire going in it. The place was really charged. And by the time I got up there from my house, the fire department had removed Mrs. Bailey from her house. She had been in her night clothes and gotten her, and she was sitting in the back of the ambulance. And I opened the door of the ambulance to see how she was doing, and right away she commanded me in her inevitable form, "Jeff, I don't care what you do, but somebody's got to get in that house. The list of the toy people is in there on the kitchen table, and I don't want that to burn up. And forget everything else in the house, but I need that list. Please get me that list." So I went to the fire chief, and the fire chief was able to send one of the guys in, and we were able to extricate the list out of the burning house. And it came out slightly wet and singed, but we did get the list out for Mrs. Bailey, and that was just kind of what she was all about. She wanted to make sure she had that list.
Thank you for that.
Okay, the last one we're going to do is, we have a presentation tonight for muscular dystrophy from the Batavia Fire Department. Chief Dykey.
Good evening. Tonight, the fire department would like to give a check to the Muscular Dystrophy Association. The firefighters did all the work in this, so I'm going to turn it over to firefighter Chris Neal, who did all the organizing for it.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Chris Neal, if you haven't met me before. I'm a full-time member of the Batavia Fire Department. Been on the department about 15 years. Obviously, everybody has seen Fill the Boot in the past. I'm sure we've driven through towns that have done Fill the Boot. Our town has just recently been able to adopt the Fill the Boot program on the city streets of Batavia due to a bill from our governor. So we are now able to fill the boot on the city streets in Batavia, which obviously is a huge, huge plus for us to get out in the public and do some goodwill for one of the biggest organizations that firefighters support across the country, which is the Muscular Dystrophy Association. I'm not very good at talking in public like this, sorry. Lieutenant Scott Hogan is in the back of the room, and just from a long time ago, when I was a younger firefighter, Lieutenant Hogan was the ambassador for the Batavia Fire Department to the Muscular Dystrophy Association at the time. And I remember him looking at me at one of the events that we did downtown at the city, Windmill City Fest, and he was tied up talking to a couple of the citizens in town, and he goes, "Chris, I have a young child here from the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and he's dying to see the fire truck. Chris, can you please show him the fire truck, hang out with him for a little bit?" And I'm like, obviously, without a doubt, 100% all in. And after that day, I think I tied myself into something that I didn't realize how big it was, and have fully embraced it and pretty much brought that to the city of Batavia and the Batavia Fire Department as a whole to make it bigger, to do our part to help out this wonderful organization. I'm going to turn it over to actually the muscular dystrophy representation and let them do some talking so I can slide off to the side. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Lindsay Leavenworth. I am a fundraising coordinator with the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So we just wanted to come here tonight to thank all of you on behalf of the MDA, on behalf of the families that we serve, for the Batavia Fire Department's willingness to really just support an amazing cause. Firefighters across the country, as Chris have mentioned, have been partnering with the MDA for over 60 years. Nationally, we raise tens of millions of dollars to support local families. We're very excited that all of the money that we raise stays local. So I actually would like to introduce the Edmondson family to you guys as well. This is Joy and Ryan Edmondson, Austin and Jamie. Joy is Austin and Ryan's grandmother, and let Joy do what she does best, which is share the ways that MDA has really supported and helped her family. But on behalf of the MDA, thank you all very much, and thank you to the Batavia Fire Department for all that you have done. Molly has a plaque here for you guys. The Batavia Fire Department this year raised over almost just $7,000 this year, which we're very, very excited about and very thankful for. So this is for Chris and the department there. This is Joy Edmondson.
Good evening. I'm a very proud grandmother to Ryan, who he turns 14 on Friday, and his brother Austin, who's 4.5. Both Ryan and Austin both have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and Duchenne is a progressive disease that wastes away the muscles, and to date there's no cure and there's no treatment for Duchenne. We started getting involved with MDA right away after Ryan was diagnosed, and we use the services that MDA provides, the support groups that are awesome for our family and for the other families. We use the clinic where all in one stop you get to see the neurologist and a physical therapist, occupational therapist, geneticist, and it's just a great tool that we use. So it's all in one place, one time, so you don't have to go to all those different doctor's appointments. So that's been really awesome for our family. Ryan attends the summer camp that he absolutely loves. It's for children 6 to 17. It's a week-long camp where he's not that kid on the sideline that can't participate, but everything is wrapped around what they can do, what their physical abilities are, and he has an awesome time. The firefighters come out on one day, and that's one of the kids' favorite days, is when the firefighters come out and they bring some of the engines, and kids get up close. Those who can get up inside, and I think their favorite thing that they get to do is the hoses, and they get to spray their counselors. So that's a fun time for the kids. It's a great week. They make a lot of friends. Last night they have a dance. Ryan was out on the dance floor this year doing every single song. He was out there dancing in his chair. So a great week, lots of fun, and they look forward to it every single year. He can't wait to go. The most important thing to our family is that research that MDA does. That we put our hope in MDA that they're going to find that cure and that treatment for Ryan and for Austin and for the other 40-plus neuromuscular diseases that they cover. So we're here to say thank you so much to the firefighters for what you do. That not only are you heroes for what you do every day out there in the line of duty, but you are our heroes in what you're doing out there on those corners filling the boot, because every single penny or nickel, dime, dollar that's put into those boots truly make a difference. So thank you so much from not just Ryan and Austin and our family, but all the other local families. Thank you.
And just to wrap up, for the fire department's point of view, we wouldn't have it any other way. This is something that the fire department looks forward to doing every single year. Guys volunteer to help out all across the board. We have full-time guys, paid-on-call guys. People try to volunteer their families, but unfortunately we can't have their families out on the streets. It's only for the firefighters. So we would do it wholeheartedly, open-handedly at any given time. I have a bunch of guys in the back that didn't want to come up today. I was going to bring everybody up because truly this is a Batavia Fire Department thing that we do as a group. And, you know, we support it and we will always support it. And I'm glad the city has embraced it and we can do wonderful things. So I just wanted our first check presentation of the check. We have the muscular dystrophy check for the $7,000. over to the Muscular Dystrophy Association on behalf of the Batavia Fire Department.
Okay, moving then back to our agenda, which will go to item number 6, and I'm going to convene the public hearing on the proposed 2014 annual City of Batavia budget. We've got some people that are leaving in the back of the room, and while they're doing that, I'd like to just take a couple minutes and make some introductory remarks about the process here and how it works and historically has worked. Tonight, the staff here Peggy is about to show us the budget or give us kind of the highlights of it. And the thing that I want to certainly, I guess the city council would like to pound its chest about is the fact that we're going to introduce a balanced budget, one that has a tax rate that, from a city's municipal viewpoint, is in about 70-cent range per $100 of assessed valuation. And that's down from the rate that we had in the early 1980s when we were up to $1.05 per $100 of assessed valuation. So over the last few years, the city council has had to work very hard in the last few years, very difficultly in some very rough economic times, to get that tax rate down from $1.05 to what you're going to see is around 70 cents. We don't know what it exactly is going to be until we get the latest assessed valuation of the community, but we think it's going to be right around 70 cents. When you put the 70 cents on the table, that puts us in the very lowest end of municipal tax rates in the Chicagoland area. There aren't many below us. Most are above us, and many cities have tax rates that are double that amount, if not almost 3 times that amount. And so Batavia really has, I think, a very respectable municipal tax rate, and I think Peggy may have some illustrations to show us that. This past week, one really tried and true friend of Batavia called me at the office, Mr. Joe Marconi, who's here in the front row. And Mr. Marconi has been a really faithful supporter of this town for many years. He's been somebody who certainly has been willing to put his money where his passions are, and that passion has been in Batavia. He spent, I'm not going to even begin to quote the amounts, but he spent a lot of money in this town to spruce it up and improve it and enhance it and drive some new ideas about, and Batavia is a much greater and grander, specifically the downtown area, because of his work. Joe called me with a question about, there's some references in the budget to the city considering doing some increases in the electrical rate. And so Joe and I talked about that for a few minutes, and I told Joe it's hard to electric rates are very complex and confusing situations, because almost everybody's is a little bit different. You've got there's the electrical aggregation movement, which has taken place in Illinois in the last few years, and that's a rate that a bunch of local folks have put themselves together in the electrical business and have been selling to municipalities, and historically those rates are very good, but most of them are only for about 13 months. And now the trend in those seems to be that the lower rates seem to be going up, and nobody seems to know where any of that seems to be going. The whole electrical industry has had, kind of a real shakeout cruise here the last few years with the recession, with electrical deregulation, and with kind of the whole industry reinventing itself. In 2007, the Batavia City Council, after a long, drawn-out process, voted overwhelmingly to enter into an agreement which we call the Prairie State Project, which is down in southern Illinois, kind of southeast of St. Louis, about 40 miles, and it's a large coal fire burning electrical generation facility that we are in, that we have an ownership in, that we have some responsibilities for. As a result of that action, we've had some things happen to our electric rate, and what basically has happened is that because of the, some of the cost overruns that we experienced when they built that plant, with the deep hit that the recession caused on all of the region, and with the facts of deregulation, Batavia has seen itself fall behind as far as being in the leaders of having some of the lowest electric rates. and we are now have some of the highest rates. And this is something that we as a community have to certainly admit to. There's nothing to hide. And the references in our budget that Joe has called me about are references that we, as a city, try to plan ahead in the budget in virtually every area. We don't have anything to hide. We're not trying to hide anything here. And if, in fact, we have some issues with the electric utility, we have to put ourselves in a public position that we are going to talk about them. Now, what I want everybody to understand is that when the city council passes the budget, and we won't be passing the budget tonight, this is just a public hearing to get data, but when we pass the budget, the 2014 budget, we will not, with that budget, be passing any utility rate increases. There's not, we're talking about doing some stuff, but by simply passing the budget, that doesn't key any utility rate increases. Those would only take place after 2014, after some, I'm sure, what is going to be long and hard deliberation by the city council. I can tell you right now that there's memos going out, there's communications going on, there's ideas being fleshed out. We're having a lot of communications with some of our larger electrical users about their rates. There's a lot of balls in the air right now, and we're really not in a position to make any concrete decision on electric rates until we kind of figure all this out and get ourselves in a position. In the meantime, we talk almost on a daily basis with people involved in the electrical industry, and everybody tells us that the whole industry as a whole in Illinois is turning into a very volatile issue, and nobody knows for sure where it's all going. There seems to be a lot of people that are of the opinion that electric rates, regardless of where you live and what community you're coming from or who your provider is, there's apparently a very strong possibility that rates throughout the area or throughout the state may very well be going up because there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of impacts by the new federal regulations on coal-fired burning power plants. There's a number of them in Illinois that apparently may be in risk of being shut down, and that'll end that generation. Commonwealth Edison's made some recent comments about shutting down some of their nuclear facilities because they're not generating enough money. There's a lot of different, again, a lot of balls in the air, so we're not really sure where we're really going with at this point in time. But I just want everybody in the room to understand that there is not an electric rate increase going to be acted upon tonight, nor with the passage of the budget. That will only happen only after there is serious discussions by the city council at some point in 2014 if we proceed to move along. And be given the status of the utility that's out there, we are probably going to have to take some types of actions, and whether that's transferring some monies or raising rates or whatever we're going to do, I'm sure the city council will be very thoughtful and progressive in its thinking on that, because certainly there's nobody here, including myself, that wants to really entertain significant increases in their electric bill. That's just not what I don't think anybody's about, nor does anybody want to do it. The city of Batavia is in the situation because of the decision that we made in 2007, and I will tell you that that decision was made, I think, based on the best information and the circumstances that were around at that time. We had a whole bunch of industries that were knocking on our door. We had experiencing major expansions and increases in our electric load, and at the time when we bought into the power plant, this looked like a very good way to kind of solidify and solidly control the electric rates as they were going to impact the people of Batavia. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way, but now it looks like that maybe the industries are changing a little bit. And to be honest with you, one of the things we have certainly are continuing to look at is the city divesting itself of some of its holdings in the power plant. That continues to be a discussion. Quite frankly, as we look at it at the moment, by trying to divest at this time, we would take a very strong financial hit on the utility, but may not be in our best interest as a community right at this moment, but that could be subject to change in the very near future. So I've talked as much as I care to talk, because you're here to hear what you have to say, but I would like to turn it over to, Garen, do you want to make any comments as chairman of the committee, or should we just turn it over to Peggy?
Let Peggy
Peggy,
take it.
thank you. Peggy Colby, our city finance director.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor, for your clarifying comments. Those were all very, very good and helpful. Plus, it gave me a moment to compose myself. After hearing the stories of all the volunteerism in the community, it just makes me feel so proud to be a member of Batavia, and we have so many great people that are here. I have a short presentation, and then I'll take questions from the city council, and then we'll turn it over to the public for their questions. I made a few slight modifications to the presentation that's posted on the city council website. At the end of this meeting, I'll go up and post this one so that the most updated one is on our website. I added a few slides for the mayor. So the key points for our 2014 budget, it's $95.6 million, $14.8 million in capital projects, $4.7 million in debt payments, of which only $468,000 are on the property tax bills. And then we have $74.1 million in operations, and $39 million of that is related to the purchase of electricity, and $22.6 million is related to wages and benefits. Most positions at the city will have a 2% wage increase. We will have one contract open next year, so there are just estimates in for that one. We've also have a proposal for the addition of a street maintenance worker in our general fund budget. The general fund and all of the utilities, which are the main operating funds of the city, will all have an operating surplus. We'll have a $3.4 million drawdown of reserves if all of the monies are spent on all of the capital projects that we have here. Ending the year of 2014 with $33 million in ending reserves for all of our funds. I added some slides on property taxes. As the mayor said, we have a very low tax rate for the city's portion. This is 2012 rates collected in 2013, and the city's tax rate at that time was 69 cents and represented 7.67 of your total tax bill. Of that amount, $4.2 million went for corporate purposes, including police, fire, and streets, and $1.3 million went for pensions, and just under $500,000 went to debt payments. As the mayor said, it's kind of hard to read here, but Batavia is the second lowest on this chart here, and it compares the 2011 tax rate to the 2012 tax rate. As you can see, the green lines represent the 2012 tax rate. Everyone's tax rates are going up because the EAVs are going down, and even if they levy the same amount or even less sometimes, depending on how much the EAV decreased, the rate can go up. So it doesn't necessarily mean that someone's paying more. They might. It depends on whether or not their EAV went down at the same level as the total EAV. But this shows that our tax rate was 69 cents in 2012, with just Geneva being a little bit lower at 67 cents, 68 cents, and then the other communities much higher. The proposed tax levy for 2013, we are not required to have a public hearing because we are not having an increase of more than 5%. So I thought I would include it here for you to see the no change in our general levy, just an increase in the pensions, so the general levy was decreased by a corresponding amount. And the debt increases $29,000 because we had a one-time abatement last year due to a bond refunding, so it just brings it back to the level it was the year before. But all in all, that $29,000 will be spread out over the $6.6 million collected across the city, so it would only make maybe $1 at most on people's tax bills. So our general fund budget is the operating budget of the city that pays for the day-to-day operations. It's $22.9 million. Of that, we have $1.5 million budgeted for transfers to capital project funds. $700 million in debt payments for the fire stations, which, by the way, that payment is lower because we did a bond refunding in 2012 and are saving over $800,000 in interest over the remaining life on those bonds. And we'll have a $65,000 ending surplus should everything go as budgeted. This chart just shows the breakdown of where our revenues come from and where they go in our general fund. The largest source of revenues is sales taxes, followed by property taxes, and then utility taxes. And for expenditures, our public safety take half of our budget, followed by Public Works. General fund revenues, as I said, there's no budgeted increase in revenues for property taxes in the general fund. The debt service is budgeted in its own fund because it's funded directly by property taxes, and that will have a slight increase. There is a proposal for a 75-cent leaf and brush fee corresponding to a proposed, what we're expecting will be an increase to that program. This budget, if it's approved, does not automatically implement this fee. It would still have to have separate legislation by the City Council approved before it could go into effect. Sales tax in 2013 was up 2.3%, which was very promising since it had been down in 2012. We budgeted for a 1.8% increase in 2014. Income taxes were also up in 2013, and we budgeted those as a level percentage in 2014. Utility taxes were up slightly, $68,000, but we budgeted them for a slightly less amount back to the 2012 level because we had a large industrial user move to another state this year, and we're expecting to see some decrease because of that. They were a very large power user. General fund expenditures, I just pulled out some highlights for people to know. We have software and system updates that total $142,000, police vehicles at $86,000, and an increase to our 911 dispatch service of $72,000. Our Tri-City ambulance contract, an increase of $32,000. A tornado siren at $20,000. Snow removal throughout the downtown at $55,000. And an expected increase to the brush program, as I mentioned earlier, and some bridge railing curb repair totaling $75,000. This chart shows the green bars are our reserves, are our cash balances at the end of each year, and the black line are our revenues, and the blue line are our expenditures. We had some new revenues introduced in 2012, so you can see that our revenue line went up while we were able to hold the line on expenditures and have that be a more gradual increase. But we're expecting that we'll have $10.4 million at the end of 2014 in our reserves, representing 178 days of operations. Should a tornado or something like that occur in Batavia and we didn't have any sales tax revenues coming in, we'd be able to use these funds for operating. The electric utility, $48.4 million for a total budget, $2 million in capital. $39 million of that budget is related to our power costs, and $5.7 million in net operating costs, and $1.7 million for debt service payments for the 138 kV substations that were built in 2006. I put this chart on here because I wanted to show how our power costs have changed since 2007 and deregulation, and how our consumption has changed. The green line shows the kilowatt hours sold, and so with that going down and our power costs going up, that's the reason why our rates are increasing as they are. If we can get consumption up, it will be more diluted, and we can keep costs down. So as the mayor mentioned, we had to put something in the budget as a placeholder, so we put in a 10% increase. This will certainly be discussed further and have further meetings on that. It is subject to a rate ordinance approval. We'll be doing another review of expenses, and we have a rate stabilization fund that City Council approved in 2009 for us to use to keep the PPAF, which is an adjustment factor that goes on the bills if our power costs change because we're selling power and buying power in the daily market. Sometimes there's fluctuations that cause it to go up. So we use these funds to keep that rate as stable as we can. When we initially had the budget meeting, we thought it would be about $500,000 left of that $2 million at the end of this year. We're projecting now we think it would be closer to $1 million. So that will be very good to help with the rates for next year. And then we'll also be doing some research and brainstorming on ideas for other funding for rate relief. Currently, as the budget is now, we'll end the year with 94 days of reserves. The water utility has year 3 of a 4-year rate increase. Now, these actually have been approved, the water and sewer rate increases. The City Council approved a 4-year rate increase for both the water and wastewater utility. $5.2 million total budget, $1.2 million in water main replacements currently budgeted, Maple Lane, Houston, and Water Street. This is the second year of the meter replacement program. Residents may get contacted from the water department as the water utility needs to access people's homes to change out these meters. They're a more accurate meter. The meters we had are no longer being supported, so they need to replace them. And the water utility has $934,000 of debt payments, and will end the year with 245 days of reserves. The wastewater utility has year 3 of 4 at an 8% increase, $7.7 million for a total budget, of which $3.5 million are capital improvements to the wastewater treatment plant, and $600,000 for sanitary sewer rehab projects. The sewer fund shares in the metering program, and there's also $2.9 million in IEPA loan proceeds that are budgeted. The utility does not have enough funds to pay in cash for the capital improvements that the wastewater treatment plant needs, so that will be one of the steps that will need to take place in 2014. And the utility has $879,000 in debt payments and will end the year with 92 days of reserves. And that's all I had for you tonight. I don't know if the City Council has further questions for me or for staff.
I do. The one item that income tax revenue that comprises 11%, where does that come from?
It's a shared revenue from the state of Illinois from income taxes that are paid, corporate and personal.
State income taxes
Yes.
come back to the municipality? Okay, thank you.
And that's a kind of a volatile thing, because the state has a tendency to kind of play with that number, and some years they give us a larger percentage than others, and it's become quite a major concern of the state's mayor as we annually have a conversation about, is the state going to rip into the percentage of the state income tax that we're supposed to get. Some years they've done it, and then we scream and holler, and they kind of give us back the next year what they took away the last year. But
Is it relatively even year to year, or is it a large fluctuation?
it jumps around a little bit.
It does jump around. In the budget meeting that we had at the Joint Committee of the Whole meeting, I did have a chart on there that showed how it has fluctuated with income tax, and also with the recession in 2009, we had a big dip, as incomes went down. So it's starting to come back, but I felt it was more conservative to not budget any increase in the income tax, not knowing, how much the state is going to distribute.
So it's a guesstimate on your part at this point in time? They don't
Right,
give you
based
any
on-
indicators of what to expect?
The Illinois Municipal League puts out what they believe will be recommendations, and that's typically what I use as a guide. They tell us on a per capita basis, because that's how the state distributes it. They don't look at what do the people in Batavia make. They just take your total population and give you that percentage.
Anybody else? Alderman Stark?
Peggy, if I understand the pie chart correctly, the whole city of Batavia, all of our infrastructure, police, fire, everything, has just a slightly larger percentage of the pie than the Park District. I mean, the whole city runs on just 2% more of a tax bill than the Park District does? I mean, am I reading that correctly?
You are reading that correctly, and that's because we do have some diversified revenue sources. We have the sales tax, we have the income tax, and utility taxes.
Thank you.
Our budget is certainly much higher than the Park District's. I don't know if any of you saw that nice glossy brochure that they sent out. It looked very nice. But it did show on their budget as well.
I'm just so surprised that such a small slice of our tax bill, our property tax bill, actually goes to the city versus all of the other, places it goes to too.
Yes, and I think that's what the mayor was trying to say earlier. We do provide a lot of services for that amount. Although, when the people are writing their check, they're writing one check to Kane County, and so it's hard for people to see that it's going to different taxing entities.
I think we need to publish this more often. Front and center on the website.
Peggy,
Peggy, we can't take out of the utility taxes for the general fund, correct? Oh,
The utility taxes are actually a tax on the utilities that go to the general fund.
But whatever revenues we make from the utilities, that cannot be put into the general
Right,
fund.
the revenues do not. The revenues have to go to support the utilities.
Peggy, the payment for debt on the fire stations is $700,000, is that correct? Okay.
And they will be paid in 2025 with the,
And by referendum, that all has to be paid out of sales tax, or
correct. It does not go on the tax rolls. We use sales tax to make that payment.
any other questions? Thank you, Peggy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it is the public hearing. Mr. Marconi's asked me if he could be first to speak.
My name is Joe Marconi, and I live at 9 South Batavia Avenue. I am the president of the Business and Homeowners Association of Batavia. We are here tonight to protest our high energy cost plus water and sewer cost. Before I introduce you to my attorney, I would like to say that on January 15th, we have rented space to a children's shop. She is leaving Wheaton to come to Batavia. And I would like to introduce to you our attorney, Michael Funke.
Good evening. Could you use the mic, please, for the clerk and give us your name and address? We need to have everybody that's going to speak give us your name and address for the record, if you would, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Mike Funke. I'm a lawyer, as Joe said, and I'm from Aurora. Joe contacted me last week, I think it was Wednesday, and asked me to get involved in this situation, and since then I've tried to gather as much material as I could. Met with some people, we've met with some energy experts as consultants, and trying to recognize the problem on behalf of Joe and the members of his group. He's asked me to object to any increase in the utility rates, specifically the electricity rates, whether it's in the 2013 budget or any subsequent budget. We're here to work with the City of Batavia and share with the City of Batavia any information that we gather and any expected procedures that we might take. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the budget? Again, I'd ask for your name and address for the clerk, please.
My name is Sylvia Keppel. I live at 1420 Becker Avenue in Batavia. And first, I understand that you are mostly new city council, and that bears no responsibility for the past mistakes. So please don't take this as a personal attack. But I do expect you to take your elected job seriously and work in service of Batavia taxpayers. That said, in the 15 years I've lived in Batavia, most of those years I was confident the city council was doing a good job. It's only the last couple of years I've really begun to question the council's judgment and the direction they're taking. $117,000 arches and $185,000 planters that weren't even executed properly come to mind. But even more frightening is the Prairie State Coal Plant. I can understand how it sounded like a good idea. What I can't understand is why there are no performance clauses or penalty clauses or any kind of escape clauses that when you realize they were not delivering what they promised, when they were running way over cost, that we can't get out of it. That's inexcusable. I mean, you hire people to look at this. You have an administration that's supposed to be their job to develop this and to look into the legal ramifications of the decisions you make. And you have legal counsel. So why were these contracts drawn up and signed without any kind of escape clauses? It makes no sense to me. As a homeowner, if I'm going to put a roof on my house, I'm going to look to see what kind of warranty it has. Even buying an appliance, I want to know what they promise. And what can I do if I don't get what they've promised? but you've left no out when you signed this contract. So we're not getting, so that's really inexcusable. And complaining about it doesn't do any good. What's done is done. But what can you do now? First of all, any administration or lawyers that approve this need to be held accountable. After this contract, I trust their judgment as much as I trust Kathleen Sebelius to fix Obamacare. So we need reliable, trustworthy people who can demonstrate competence. To me, that this was inexcusable, and it's a firing offense for people who are entrusted with legally securing the welfare of the taxpayer. There is no excuse. And advice for the current city council members: don't be rubber stamps. Read the contracts. Don't trust papers that are put in front of you without reading them and looking at it. And use your common sense. I mean, how many of you are parents? And what do you teach your kids? You teach your kids that if an adult comes to you and says, we're going to do something that's going to be a secret between us, don't tell anybody. What do you tell your kids to do? You tell them to run as fast as you can away from that person. Well, these people with the Prairie State Coal Plant came to you through NIMPA or IMPA or all those, and they said, we're going to have all these secrecy agreements. We're going to have all these non-disclosure agreements. And you guys signed it. I don't understand that. So read that and run away. When somebody tells you, we don't want anybody to know, we don't want the public to know, you know, we have in Batavia a lot of very educated experts on different things. If you had put it out there and let them read it, maybe they could have found it. But it was all hidden. A lot of executive sessions and closed-door conferences. And don't accept puff pieces designed to make a bad situation look better than it is. You talk about that we have competitive prices. I beg to differ. And your own information objects to that. You all have laptops. If you pull up your past meetings, the agenda and minutes, and if you go to the Joint Committee of the Whole on September 17th, if you have time, if you want to look it up, September 17th, 2013, item number 10. The only comparisons that are valid are between Batavia and ComEd. All the other ones that they concluded is competitive pricing. All the rest of the municipalities have bought into Prairie State along with us. So they too are seeing the high rates because of Prairie State coal. So the only valid comparisons are between Batavia and ComEd. And if you look at Batavia and ComEd, at least for residents, we see a 20 to 25% higher rate on our bills than ComEd customers do. And ComEd was always seen as being very expensive. And guess what? Now we're more expensive than they are. And it's not going to get any better. Mayor Schilke just said that we don't know what's going to happen. Well, you know, if you look back at the Public Utilities Commission, February 19th, 2013, in your agenda and minutes, so that's February 19th, 2013, Public Utilities Commission, item 4, page 10, bottom of the page. It says we will be paying above market value for energy as well as losing money on what we sell till at least 2024. And this is a toxic asset that we need to dump. And trying to cover it up with other tax money from other funds just doesn't work. I'm not happy with that. And so stop sitting on your hands saying there's nothing you could do. Think outside the box. And that's what we shouldn't have to have businessmen hiring lawyers, outside lawyers, to try to think outside the box. Have you thought about going after IMPA or NIMPA that got us into this? And from what it seems when you read it, there's a lot of non-disclosure and fraud and conflict of interest. And because the head of IMPA is also served as the chairman of the board of Prairie State Plant, and they bought large interest in it before we signed our agreement. So there's things to look into. And also, there are other recommendations from other states. Other states are having the same problem. They say to contact the Attorney General of your state. And I don't know what can be done there, but that's the recommendation, that all the states involved should contact their attorneys general. Has that been done? The SEC is looking into this. They're investigating. Does anybody know what their investigation is, how it's coming along? Do we have any idea of when it might be concluded? Do we know what they're finding? Somebody do something. Make the commitment to check into this. And where will the money? Yes, it costs money to fight this. It costs money for lawyers, but look for it. I'm sure it's there. You have money to spend on all the beautification of Batavia that's really not necessary. I mean, if you please just stop on concentrating on the superficial projects and congratulating yourself on streetscaping when you have real problems that affect every resident and every business in Batavia, I would be most grateful. Thank you.
Anybody else? Dick, would you give us your name and address for the clerk?
Your Honor, my name is Richard Benson. I live at 380 North Water Street here in Batavia. We had a lot of conversation about the electric power cost this year, or tonight, and on my last bill, our power cost was 13.14 cents per kilowatt hour, made up of 9.1 cents for the power cost, plus a service charge, plus a PPAF, plus franchise fee and state tax. That compares to a township resident who gets their power from ComEd, and they paid 10.74 cents per kilowatt, including all of the upcharges. In March of 2004, we moved down to Water Street, and our electric cost was 6.25 cents per kilowatt. It increased to 8.32 cents per kilowatt in February of 2008, and from there it has increased to 13.14 cents, with an increase of 59.9% in 5 years, or an average of almost 12% a year for the last 5 years. Coincidentally, the increases started about the time that Batavia became affiliated with Prairie States. What will electric power costs be if these rates continue to increase like that? Based on information supplied to me by CUB, the base rates charged by other utilities in Illinois, including ComEd and Ameron, range from 4.5 cents to 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour, while Batavia's base rate is 9.16 cents per kilowatt hour. And that the rates quoted by CUB include the transportation cost. Looking at page 11, or Roman numeral 3 of the budget, it shows the total budget for 2014 is $95,574,000, as compared to $92,811 and 623 cents in 2013, for a $2,762 increase, with major expenditures in electric, water, and sewer budgets. Can't some of these improvements or costs be phased in over a couple of years so that taxpayers are not hit with major increases all at once? Talk about the budget calling for about a 2% levy increase, but with the higher taxes levied by the school district, the park district, the library, and other taxing bodies, it continues to make Batavia difficult for people to afford to live here because of the high taxes. Looking at tax rates, my tax rates have risen from 6.72 in 2002 to 9.07 in 2012, payable in 13, or a 35.808 increase. The city rate was 0.5595 in 2009 and has increased to 0.6959, or a 25% increase in the last 3 years. We recognize the city tax rate is 7.67% of the taxes that we pay, and the school is 67.07% of our total tax bill. The city needs to be involved with other taxing bodies in the city. Taxes are going up to the point where people on fixed incomes are finding it difficult to afford their homes in Batavia. A friend who had just retired stopped a couple of weeks ago and told me that he had retired, but said, "I'm sorry, I'm afraid we're not going to be able to stay in Batavia because our taxes, our cost of living is too much here." I would hope that the city council has something to say about the department heads other than just to rubber stamp their appointment. We tend to look at our elected city officials when things are not going well, so they need to have a say in the appointment of those running the city. Your effort to look carefully at the way the city government operates and control of increased costs would be appreciated by the taxpayers. Keep in mind that the money the city is spending is not the city's money, but the money has been provided by the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yvonne, would you give us your name and address for the clerk, please?
Sure. Yvonne Dinwiddie, 1156 Pine Street in Batavia. You know, I have actually been pretty, I guess, in favor of the way the city has run over the past, you know, we've been here 27 years. In the last couple of years, I've been pretty upset, not just with the city, but with all the taxing bodies. All these intergovernmental agreements that we have, all these things, when this business with Peabody Coal came up years ago, and some of you are new on the council, so you had nothing to do with it. I told the council back then, I came from a coal mining town. I know what happens. And I said, you are not going to make money on this. This is going to be a really bad deal for Batavia because of the EPA requirements, because of cost overruns that I know were going to happen with this, and a few other things. But now it's water under the dam. We're stuck with it. And I hope and pray that there can be something done with this. The SEC doesn't investigate people without cause. And just given the fact that the SEC is investigating these people tells me that this wasn't vetted properly, not only by this city, but by the other cities. I have, Sylvia and Joe and the rest of them have all pretty much stated the important aspects of the Peabody coal stuff. But the newspapers are saying that the city council's doing a study to see if you can assess stormwater fees. And a couple of the council members had said, well, somebody's got to pay for this. We've got to fix the stormwater. Well, it was my impression that the city is supposed to be taking care of our streets. It's supposed to be taking care of the stormwater. That first and foremost, not streetscapes, not play pretty things that really don't contribute anything to the tax base. We have TIF districts in this town, and I have the whole stack of them. I've been checking them out. We haven't had any TIF districts that have really paid us back. And yet the TIF districts take money away from the schools that we, the taxpayers, have to make up. And so now we have streetscapes that have abutments that are out in the middle of the street that are going to cause problems. And we have a great big $117,000 eyesore up there. Maybe somebody likes it, but, you know, I think it's an eyesore. And the Tooth Fairy doesn't provide these funds. All of this money comes from us, the taxpayers. And it seems like since the city of Batavia got home rule, it's like, let's see where we can find some more things to charge to the citizens of Batavia. You used to provide the leaf pickup. You used to provide the brush pickup. You only provided it for 5 months out of the year, but then all of a sudden you got home rule, and then it was $3 a month during the time when you picked up the things. Now it's $3 a month for the whole year, and you're talking about raising it even more. The city trucks come out and do the leaves, and yet you contract with Kramer Tree Service. So I don't understand where all of the separations are here. As regards employee pensions in the budget, I noticed that the city employees contribute 4.5% to their pensions, while the citizens via our tax dollars are contributing 13.53% to the pensions. Even the federal government only contributes 7% to employee pensions. Why are the taxpayers paying 34% of police salaries and 32% of fire salaries toward pensions? Now, the police contribute 9.91% of their base salary for pensions, and fire employees contribute 9.455%. So they do contribute more, but they contribute more probably because of the jobs that they do are more risk. They're more risk averse. And while I believe that city employees deserve good benefits, most citizens don't come even close to this. It was proposed in the budget where I read that the employees will get a 2.8% raise, and the rest of us will get a 1.5% raise based on the current annual CPI, if we get a raise at all, and that's for Social Security or income. And it won't even cover the increases in the utility bills from the city of Batavia, and it won't cover the increases in costs for health care or food, clothing, and shelter. Our salaries have gone down consistently, while our taxes and our expenses have gone up. So I think we need to have this council. A lot of you are new, and we put new people on this council in the hopes that the council would do a little more research and a lot less taking for granted what is being told to them by the city administration and others. So I'm hoping that you'll do a little better than what the past councils have done. I did want to let you know, too, this was in the Daily Herald. It says, Illinois, land of many taxing bodies. We have local governments have 7,000 units that tax, spend, and drive up debt in a state struggling to pay off vendors and cover almost $100 billion of unfunded pension liabilities. And a lot of these things overlap. We have intergovernmental agreements which result in us paying taxes to all of the bodies. For example, if the Park District and the city enter into an intergovernmental agreement, the Park District charges the city pays the Park District, and they're not supposed to be able to raise taxes without a vote by the public after a certain amount. But when they have the intergovernmental agreements, it's a way around having the citizens vote for what these tax increases are. And it's a double taxation for the citizens because we pay taxes to the city and we pay taxes to the Park District, and then we have to pay user fees on top of it. So I know this is a little disjointed. I've been too busy to get it down the way it should be, but I hope you'll think about this and think about intergovernmental agreements and why they shouldn't be done. Think about TIF districts and why they shouldn't be done. And tomorrow, when you're listening to the proposal to give away a half acre of city property for $1 to whoever it is that is going to get it, Batavia Enterprises, or for Walgreens, and then you look at the $675,000 that you want to give Walgreens to develop in Batavia. I would like you to think about how we, the taxpayers, don't get the benefit from that. Walgreens is a very big company. It's one of the largest companies in the country. If they can't pay to build their own store, then we don't need it. We have Walgreens on every corner around here. We can drive there. And we need to stop this business of giving $400,000 to this organization to build down here, and $675,000 to another one, and $20,000 to another one, without exacting the payback. And I don't know how many of these grants and loans that we've given to these companies have been double and triple loans because the businesses go out of business and move somewhere else and then get another grant. So really, please look into this. You know, we're busy. We elected you to do this for us. We shouldn't have to come back behind you and wipe the floors and give you the information. You should be giving us the information. I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Carl? Again, Carl, could you give us your name and address for the clerk, please?
Carl Dinwiddie, 1156 Pine Street, Batavia, Illinois. And I got my phone out real quick because it's got a calculator. Now, if I understand Prairie State, the debt is $240 million. Is that correct? Somewhere around there? As Ed Dirksen used to say, a few million here and a few million there, and pretty soon you're talking about real money. That's $250 million. So I got my calculator out and I tried to throw in $250 million and it says out of range, so I did it another way. But would appear, if I've done my math right, that if we assume 25,000 residents, every resident in Batavia is now on the hook for close to $10,000. And I'm a graduate economist, and one of the things that when you start throwing money out there, they talk about diversify. And it seems like we threw all our money in one pot. You know, they said buy stocks, buy bonds, buy T-notes. But that's all I'm going to say about that. That's the cow, water over the bridge, the cow is out of the gate, and I know you guys are going to work on that. Actually, what I wanted to talk about mainly was transparency, and I've talked to the other government bodies in the city about transparency, and I will have to say a number of things. Like one government body said they had their budget on display. I went to the building. I went to where it was supposed to be. It wasn't there. I went to the secretary. She looked in the whole building. She couldn't find a budget that was supposed to be on display. So I said, it's okay, I'll go to the website. I went to the website. I searched, I typed in budget for a search. I had to call them. It was 4 layers down. The city here, you go to the website, #1 item, 2014 budget. So I have to compliment you on that. I have to compliment the mayor for transparency. He's just, this is the hard, cold facts. I'm going to tell you like it is, and we're dealing with it. So I appreciate that. And then with the budget, I was just going through it. Some of the other budgets I pulled up, I have no idea where the money's going. I really don't, because of the way they do the funds. Peggy does an outstanding job. I can go to any unit, the police department, the fire department, the electric. You know, we can talk about the numbers all we want, but for transparency, it's there in your budget. I can read about it and I can analyze it and I can stand up here and, you know, like some of the people have said, well, I see this, I see that. So I have to compliment everyone on transparency. For the numbers, I think one of the council members brought that up, and I brought this up to the school board a couple months ago. I said, your increase last year was more than I pay in total taxes to the city of Batavia. You raised my taxes more than I pay the city of Batavia every year. And one last thing about transparency. I've written the state's attorney and I ask about public hearings. I says, how can these people hold a public hearing, say we want to hear from the citizens, everybody sits down, they close the public hearing, and they vote on the budget? I said, that doesn't give me a warm feeling that they really cared to hear what I have to say. So I had my last point for transparency is, you're holding the public hearing, you're getting the data, you're going to listen to the people and vote at a later date after you have a chance to consider what everybody said. So, thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Just so everybody understands, that would be our intentions to, obviously not act on this tonight, but it will be rolled over to the next regular meeting of the city council, which will be the first Monday in December. And that's when we will act on the budget. And hopefully I just want to re-stress this, that when we pass the budget, we are not passing any rate increases on. There's conversation about it because we're trying to be as above board and understanding and let everybody understand what we are thinking about or having to talk about or react to. But before any rate increases take place, that would take additional actions by the appropriate city council committee, heavy discussion, all kinds of give and take, and that, I can assure you on the electric thing, that's already going on here. There's a lot of memos and emails passing forth, a lot of questions being asked, so the city council is truly engaged in this. So I have faith that the process will work out here and we'll get some things accomplished. But I just want everybody to know that when we vote on the budget, we're not passing any rate increases on you. And so that's what we're trying to stress, that so there's a clear understanding. Yes, you come up and give us your name and address for the clerk.
Hi, my name is Michael Marconi. I'm Joe's son. I live in Winfield, although I don't live in Batavia. With my dad, we own a lot of property here. There's one thing I just want to let you all know about sort of real world stuff. In addition to working with my dad, I'm also an industrial broker, and I specialize a lot in the industrial park here in Batavia. And about 3 weeks ago, I'm working with a client who's looking to build about a 150,000 square foot manufacturing facility, which would be great for our town. He sent me this article that's actually brewing about right now about the deal with this electric utility, and he's like, I can't move there. You know, and when I started in this business, in the industrial brokerage business 15 years ago, what we'd say about Batavia is, well, come to Batavia, the rates are 20% less. I can't say that anymore. And now I could say come to Batavia because they pay like 5% more, which isn't a selling point. And again, I'm passionate about Batavia, and I want Batavia to do well, because I make my living in Batavia. So it's shameful that that's happening. And it's easy to throw up on that screen about the tax rate being a little bit lower in this town, but again, real world, I want to tell you what it looks like. We used to have low taxes. You know, come to Kane County because the taxes are a little bit lower. The taxes in Batavia on industrial properties are higher than Carroll Stream, they're higher than St. Charles, they're higher than Aurora. I'm moving more people out of this town right now than I'm moving into this town, and that kills me. Right now, for example, on a 178,000 square foot industrial facility you have in your park, the taxes are $1.65 a foot on that building. So it's causing the landlords to reduce rates if they want to compete. The landlords are all trying to push rents up. So what happens is these jobs are leaving, and all these people are leaving. What happens is the taxes, you know, that taxing goes down because they leave. And eventually you have a vacancy reduction, so the taxes go down, and then all these people end up paying more in taxes. So what's our competitive advantage in this town? Our competitive advantage is our people. It used to be the low electric rates. I don't know what we do about Rubicon and Suncast, but if they're paying these rates, we talk about a way to get out of this contract. Why not call up the Rubicons of the world and the Suncasts of the world and all these other big power users in that business park and ask them to help you? Because if they're paying the same rates, and I have to imagine maybe they get a little buying power, maybe they're paying them down a little bit, but they're paying more than they'd be paying if they were on ComEd. I'm not sure that's true, but I have to assume it is. So, again, that's just my own 2 cents. So, good luck.
Thank
Job
you.
ahead of you.
Anybody else? Well, Alderman Sparks, I guess I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing then.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Sparks, second by Alderman Stark for the adjournment of the public hearing. Clerk, call the roll.
Sparks?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Holman?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Vasilian? Saron? McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Clark? Atack?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Transit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye. Motion to adjourn the public hearing is approved, 14 yes, no no's, and none absent. Okay, moving on to item number 7 on the agenda, which are matters from the public for items not on the agenda. Do we have any of that tonight? Okay, moving then to item number 11, which is ordinance 13-35, establishment of special service area number 57 for Batavia Main Street downtown. Alderman Sparks, do you have this?
No, it's community development.
Got it, Your Honor.
Alderman Brown?
Thank you. After just listening to all that, this is almost kind of hard to even put out here tonight, but in saying that, I'm happy to say that ordinance 13-35 establishing special service area number 57 did have a public hearing. It was held on September 16th, and we did listen to what the public had to say at that public hearing. And they asked that we could extend and grant them time to work with the city staff in order to come up with something that the people that were affected by this proposed establishment of Area 57, that it would affect. And so they did meet, the property owners of the area did meet with city staff and with Main Street, and they came to a conclusion and an agreement, and they're all very happy. I believe they're all very happy with what is coming out of this. There was an opportunity, if there was objection to this to occur, there was an opportunity that a petition could have been filed, and if 51% of the property owners affected objected to it, it could be squashed. There was no petition filed, and as far as I know, there was no one that was even circulating a petition to eliminate this proposal. Some of the high points of the proposal is there is no levy of the SSA taxes for the first 2.5 years to pay down the TIF overage created with the current SSA and the TIF overlap. Payment of the overlap on a yearly basis rather than a lump sum to fund Main Street. And property owners in the SSA would submit an annual review evaluating the performance of Main Street during the past year. So the property owners have engaged this, and they want to be more involved, and they want to work more with Main Street, and they want to evaluate what Main Street is doing for their bang for their buck. The property owners are actually funding a portion of Main Street, so they want to be engaged with Main Street, which is a very good thing. And then also SSA 57 would terminate in 5 years with no renewal. So what we need to do tonight, what is proposed to do tonight is I'm going to move for approval of ordinance 13-35 establishing special service area number 57, and then within 60 days the ordinance or it needs to be recorded with the county, and then we need to come back and there needs to be another ordinance that would formally take action to dissolve SSA number 55. So I would move for approval of ordinance 13-35 establishing the special service area number 57.
Second. Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Wolf, for the approval of ordinance 13-35 establishing special service area number 57 for Batavia Main Street in downtown Batavia. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown?
Aye.
Clark? Atack?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Transit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Sparks?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Vasilian?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Ordinance 13-35 is passed, 14 yes, no nos, none absent. Moving to item number 12, which is the administrator's report. Mr. McGrath, please.
Thanks, Mayor. We've mainly been working on the budget and some business retentions since our last meeting. We're working on Walgreens, which, as you know, is going to be up for presentation tomorrow night. We're working on the timely building presentations that'll be on December 10th. You'll be getting, I think within a few days, copies of the request for qualifications for the Baptist Church, which we will be getting out. Chris Aston will be asking if you have any significant developers that you are aware of to add to a list of about 20 significant developers in the area that we'll be sending these out to. We plan on a January 7th return date, so we can get on the project in 2014. We're working on a request related to an expansion by Aliano's and another restaurant concept downtown. We're working with at least 2 new industries this week, working on, as I said earlier, a significant business retention. We're making a few suggested changes to the strategic plan that came out of our last meeting about the environmental element, and I hope to get that to next week's committee meeting. And lastly, if you noticed, the skeleton for the Storehenge project went up on Friday, thanks to Denny Kintop, the electric department, and actually the engineering staff for helping with that. I think it'll be completed, should be completed in a matter of a month. I know there's some final work. The bricks will be going in, I believe, this Friday. Then there's a panel with some historic photographs and descriptions to be mounted as well, so I think that'll be nice. That's all I have.
Any questions of the administrator? Alderman Kelman?
May I just ask when the business survey results might be?
Probably soon. I know they're going and coordinating. Chris has been working out some, doing some references to see what kinds of themes he can see, like comparing answers that are given by commercial people to answers given by industrial people. So he's working on that now. Jason, do you have any idea when that might be going out in the next? December sometime. So he was very pleased. He got a lot of feedback. Thank you. Or a lot of responses. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee reports, Community Development, Alderman Brown.
Just one item, Your Honor, announced that tomorrow night at the J-Cow, which starts at 7:30, on the CDC's agenda will be the Walgreen redevelopment proposal. And then Historic Preservation will be meeting November 25th at 5:30. Also, the Plan Commission is scheduled for November 20th, which is Wednesday at 7:30. That's all I have.
Public Utilities, Alderman Clark.
According to the meeting calendar, there's nothing on the agenda in regards to public utilities for several meetings, so we'll be spending money other places instead of our public utilities.
City Services, Alderman Wolf.
I have nothing on the JCOW meeting for tomorrow night, but I did want to remind everybody that leaf collection is still going on the west side, try to get that finished up, and then the last brush pickup will be citywide after the Monday following Thanksgiving for everything that got knocked down this week.
Government Services, Alderman Sparks.
Thank you. Tomorrow night at the JCO, I'll be discussing Resolution 13143R, the 2014 annual budget, Ordinance 1344, the 2013 tax levy, and Ordinance 1345, the 2013 SSA 30 tax levy. In same time, we're going to be discussing Walgreens, so thanks. Here all night.
Okay, moving then to other business. Do we have any other, Alderman Holman?
Your Honor, yes. I wanted to quickly discuss, I've had several people in the community that have commented on the Siemens property lately, and I wanted just to kind of give everyone an update on where that is, quite frankly. I'm a little frustrated with it, as I know the second ward aldermen are, as is Alderman Vasilian from the 5th, and Alderman Thielen Atack, as we all have to look at it every day. In 2009, there was a pre-construction meeting that set in place basically the tear down of those buildings. Those buildings were torn down over the next couple months. The area was then remediated, and there was a no further remediation permit that needed to be received by them from the EPA and then filed, at which point they had agreed that they would take out the foundations and then they would put it back to plain dirt and grass and something more attractive than what it looks like right now. July came and went. They were contacted by the city. On Thursday, October 17th, they failed to appear for adjudication over the non-removal of those slabs, and to date, they have not responded to any of the requests from our department. So if anyone is interested in contacting their people, feel free to drop me a note through the website or down here, and I'll be more than happy to share that info with you, and we can put a little pressure on Siemens to clean up their mess. Thank you.
Thank you.
One comment, Your Honor.
You can go first, Dave.
I just wanted to, for clarification for the public, you mentioned the leaf pickup is still going on the west side, and I believe that is only for the streets that have not yet been collected on the west side, this last collection.
Right,
So if you've already been collected last week, they're done.
Yeah. Go to the website, they have a map, and you can see that. If not, call Public Works.
Alderman Wolf, you have some other things?
Oh, yeah, I have a little other one here. I wanted to get out the information while I have it on TV, because due to the IHSA changes, we will not be broadcasting live from Rockford, and we were only able to do a broadcast, not a webcast, of the home game last weekend. The way to get tickets this week for pre-sale tickets is they will available to the community on Wednesday and Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. at the athletic office at the high school, and are on the Main Street side. You can purchase tickets there. The game is at 1 p.m. at Rockford Boylan, and there will be directions available for that, or at the website on the city, and I believe BATV may have that up as well. We will be taping the game, so we will get to broadcast it later, so we'll at least have that for history. And hopefully they win this game. I believe they will, and then we'll go on to DeKalb. So the road to DeKalb is actually 39 through Rockford.
So the question we need to ask here, so is there a channel where people can watch this game?
You can go to the website for the IHSA, ihsa.org, and they have it available on there. If you're a Comcast subscriber, you can watch it for free anywhere in Illinois. Anybody in Illinois can watch it with their Comcast Infinity subscription. If not, you have to pay $10 a day is the minimum to be able to watch it. And the IHSA decided to change this midstream in the playoffs.
Where are we watching this at, on a computer screen
On
or
a
on
computer,
your
yeah.
Comcast TV?
I don't know if you can watch it on Comcast TV. I watched it during our game Saturday at the high school when I was in the booth calling the game. I watched the IHSA's coverage of it just for an instant replay because it was 14 seconds behind the game.
What channel is that on in Batavia?
That was not on in Batavia. That was on the computer. That was on the website for the IHSA.
And now it's going to go on a TV channel?
It will only be, as far as I know, it's only webcast. They sent 3 high school students from DuPage County to the Batavia High School to do the webcast of the game.
I mean, I'm asking the question because I can see come Friday or Thursday, the girls on our switchboard are going to start getting calls from people. What channel do I turn to on Saturday to watch this Batavia game? Is there any, I mean, we should.
Is that it's been available all year long on BATV. There will be a link on the BATV live webpage at mybatv.com to get you to the IHSA site. Then it's your choice to pay for it, to watch it, or if you have Comcast, you can get it for free with the Xfinity subscription.
I don't know if you're Comcast if you're on the computer.
You have to be able to sign in, just like you were signing into any website or any email account.
I don't want to sound like Affordable Care Act, but I have, I have a lot of older people in town say to me, well, they want me to go online and sign in.
At
Well,
this
how do I do that?
point, after the season is over, I will make a presentation and I will give the names and addresses and contact information for the IHSA so that everybody that didn't get to see what they wanted to see this year can contact them, because it has been a nightmare for them. They had a game that was won, I believe it was the Montini game that was they lost the feed 5 minutes before the game was over, and it was won on a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. They won by 1, and all the people that were watching that didn't get to see it. So there's a lot of refunds going out this week.
What do I, I'm out playing myself, what do I sign in when I get to this part of
You
this?
go to the IHSA website.
Give me Comcast address and password.
No, you get if you go to the IHSA website, you pull up the Batavia Boylan game, and then it'll ask you how you want to sign in. There's 2 options. Pay the $10 to them if you want to watch just that game or that day, or buy their subscription for the year, or whatever you decide you want to do. Or if you're a Comcast subscriber already, you can sign in like you're signing into your email, and that'll get you into it, because that's how I did it.
So if your email has Comcast.net at the end of it.
Right, if you're an Xfinity subscriber, which means you have the full package.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if you have Infinity, I'll sign you in and we'll all be over.
I don't think, you have to appreciate that I'm the one that's down here, and the receptionists are calling me saying,
I totally understand.
This lady out here at the desk who wants to sign into this game, she wants to know how to do it. I don't begin to know how to tell them to do this. I got some upsee gene or something.
You find a high school student, you get them a laptop, they can plug that into your TV, and you can watch it on your TV.
Anything else?
That's it.
Going to the mayor's report very quickly, I would just like to publicly commend our city staff for their activities over Saturday and Sunday of this week, given the weather issues that they were called upon to deal with. Certainly starting Saturday night when we had the heavy wind take a tree limb down on a transformer at North Van Buren and Madison Street. That was kind of the beginning act of this whole thing. And that tripped off a couple of transformers that we had to go back and reset. And that shut down some of the downtown businesses for the night. And that created another kind of backdoor situation. And then certainly on Sunday, it was just, I came down here and the gals that were in the police dispatch are our weekend dispatcher, and they take care of all the public works call-outs. And they were just sitting there one after another, because with the wind and the rain and backups and drainage and issues, the street department and public works were just going crazy, and the electricians, I saw real value to a municipally owned electric utility on Sunday with the number of times we had to send the electricians out because a house service had been ripped off because a branch had fallen. Fortunately, we didn't have any major citywide power outages. The system held very well, but they were certainly called out a number of times for what I'll describe as minor issues. And we got called over to, I think the address was 362 North Water Street last night about 8 o'clock. And the Water Street there by Waterford Development it's a hill that goes up to the west. And a big tree on top, halfway up the hill, blew over and came right down as like a spear going right into the street. And I went up and took pictures of it. And fortunately, no car was going by when this thing came down, because it would have gone right through the car the way it was. But the boys went up and they had to get the chainsaws out and cut this whole thing out, and it was stabbed itself right into the pavement in the middle of Water Street. So we had a number of issues, and then in the middle of this, we had 2 general alarm fires that we mutual aided to Geneva and St. Charles on. And then in the middle of that, we had, unfortunately, we had 2 deaths occur. The fire department ambulance had to get involved with. They were, not something that were, how do I want to say this? They were not calls that, they were emergencies, but 2 people died, and it was, it wasn't accidents, I would tell you. And so it was a natural cause in another situation. So it was just a very hectic, troubled, impacted day for all of our public works, police, fire, as everybody was involved, was doing something. And the gals that were running the dispatch center down for our community down here at the office really earned their money yesterday. And I just want to take my hat off to them for an outstanding job. The other thing I would like to report is that I have been called by several of our local community groups that want to offer free Thanksgiving Day dinners, and Aliano's across the street here is offering, I think you have to be a senior citizen, and I don't know what Mario's definition, is that over 65? I haven't read that definition, but they're offering it's in the afternoon from 4 to 7 or 6?
Your Honor, it's from noon to 3.
Noon to 3?
Noon to
Okay.
3 and 65 and older.
65 and older. And then I'm also led to believe that the Methodist Church is offering a free Thanksgiving Day dinner to people, as is the VFW. So there's several different places in town. Again, I'm just kind of struck tonight by the number of things we heard during the presentations by the various people involved in all the various things that spoke to the involvement and the commitment and the giving that's going on in this town on a day-to-day basis. It's really heartwarming to see the number of people that step up and really come to the forefront here and try to help out on things that are going on. So I just can't say enough for the spirit of giving. It's at a time of year when we're starting to talk about Christmas and the holidays. We're certainly alive and quite well with our giving spirit in this town. And I think at the end of the day, it makes us a much better place for us all to live and raise families and do the things we want to do. So we have a lot to be proud of in Batavia. On that note, I will...
May I just say something?
Yes.
When you just spoke about the electric issues we've had with our electric department, I just want to, I understand, I think we all understand what's going on with our electric utility in Prairie State, but, and so you pay a few cents more per kilowatt hour, but, what happens Saturday and Sunday, if you had ComEd, you wouldn't get the service as a resident, as a business, that the City of Batavia electrical utility gives you. They do get out there in a moment's notice, cuts the tree down, they cut the tree down, they get you back up and running. They get you your service immediately. There's one argument there, and the second argument, again, is for the big industrial users, is reliability and power. We don't have breakdowns, unless it's, natural catastrophe, but we don't have breakdowns. So I just wanted to defend our electric utility a little bit with just kind of getting on to what the mayor had said.
Just to add real quick, and I don't work for ComEd, and no one here, maybe most people here have the Batavia utility, but yesterday my power went down, and as soon as that wire hit the ground, ComEd trucks were on site. So I respectfully will disagree that although Batavia does a wonderful job and you got out there, but ComEd does a good job too. So let's not say that's the reason we should pay more money.
Well, I will.
Well, you can, and I'll disagree with that.
Great.
Good discord.
Okay, Alderman Brown, I guess we need a motion for executive session for the purposes of discussing collective bargaining, and we will be taking action with an agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police after, and also potentially the sale and purchase of electrical power.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Stark for the council to enter executive session. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Clark. Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Transit. Wolf.
No.
Sparks.
No.
O'Brien.
He said aye.
He said aye.
Thank you. Callahan.
Aye.
Homan.
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Basilian.
Aye.
Cerrone.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Motion approved. And reconvene the city council. The clerk, please call the roll.
Brown. Clark. Atack.
Here.
Stark. Transit. Wolf.
Here.
Sparks.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Callahan.
Here.
Homan.
Here.
Sam.
Here.
Basilian.
Here.
Cerrone.
Here.
McFadden.
Here.
Okay, let the record reflect that all those who entered executive session have returned to regular session. Moving to item number 17, which is Resolution 13-141-R, agreement with Fraternal Order of Police Lodge number 224, officers. Alderman Sparks, do you have that?
Staff has worked diligently with the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 224 officers. They have come to an agreement in the 13th hour before arbitration. With that, they will get the Police Lodge will get a 2-year for 2013, 2014, 2% per year. It's the main thing they're getting. I make a motion, we accept Resolution 13-141R, agreement with Fraternal Order Police Lodge 224 officers for 2013, 2014.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Sparks, second by somebody over here, Alderman Callahan. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Sparks.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Aye.
Homan.
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Basilian. Cerrone.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown. Clark. Atack.
Aye.
Stark. Transit. Wolf.
Aye.
Ordinance, or Resolution 13-141-R is approved, 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Alderman Brown, I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman O'Brien. Clerk, take a voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.